Welcome to it, sports fans. It is the MKT Show. I'm MKT. A little bit after we said we'd be on, but we're on and we are live. And I'm looking forward today to having somebody I've worked with who actually has revealed himself to be a relatively speaking nice person, one of the most highly skilled people in this country. And yeah, it's been an absolute learning journey to be with him. And as I said, it has been shocking how nice he is as a person. We'll reveal that in a bit. Welcome to it. It's Monday, of course, the 29th of March. You survived COVID for 3 months in the part 2 version of it all, 2021. Welcome to it. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm joined, of course, by the man that went to AFTA, could not get into UCT, wasted all of his mum's money at AFTA, James Ellingsley. James, shout out to you. What's happening, pal?
Hi, how are you?
What's news? Nice haircut, nice new haircut, nice new beard cut.
It's looking alright, eh?
Yeah.
Looking okay.
Yeah, you look good. You look really
Thanks.
good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Who cut that?
I just went to a barber.
Oh, yeah?
That's about it. Went to a male ego barber is what they call it.
What does that mean?
I think it's just a barber for dudes.
But has that affected your ego?
No, I've never had one. I may be a dope dude, but I've never actually had an ego.
Okay.
Yeah. That's,
are we having some technical issues here?
a little bit. I think the camera's off.
All right, we'll turn it on. We'll figure it out.
It's been a day, right?
No, we'll figure it out.
Is it back on?
Let's see.
Is it? Oh, that's awkward. You just got to push the other camera button.
It's what you call camera settings.
Oof. We're on photo mode though.
Industry biz. One more click.
Wait. There you go.
Oh, we're in business.
Wow. Do we have a number 3? What's happening? That just cuts straight to you.
I look good.
Number 1 and
I am
then
number 3.
Number 1. There you go.
Yeah, no, we are good.
This is backwards. I might mess up a couple of times today because I've become used to the same
It's okay.
order that we have.
We're all
Right.
learning here. It's a podcast. We got Spike here.
There you go.
That's the man I was going to introduce everybody to.
There you go.
By the way, we're doing Formula One today, and I'm looking forward to learning. I'm going to be learning about Formula One today. Spike Valentine, what's happening?
Welcome, thank you. It's good to be here eventually.
Yeah,
It's taking a little time.
yeah. You were supposed to be here Friday. We wanted to do a
and
preview
then
show.
this morning, and then
Technology. Well, what you going to do?
you got the thing about technology. It's wonderful when it works.
Yes.
Yeah. All good. Thank you very much. And I just want to start out by saying I know this show is primarily about football and cricket and rugby.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you taking some time out to chat to me about a sport that involves real balls.
Nobody watches. Nobody's ever.
No.
Everybody is
No.
asleep at
Yeah.
a Sunday 4:00. Worst time to have anything on. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
nap time for
For
most
old
is.
people, like
For a lot of people.
Yeah, like who, James? Who do you know who naps at 4? You're 25 years old.
My stepdad naps at 4.
you know that because you still live at home.
Yeah, that's it.
No, well,
When are you going to move out and start paying bills?
I live alone.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, these after kids, they're just going to smooch off your parents the rest of your
I
life.
live alone.
Yeah.
I do.
All right.
I do.
Listen, just because you live alone doesn't mean you have to be lonely, James. Just a little life lesson for you there. There's always someone with you. By the way, Spike, not sure if you know this. You may not have caught it on the previous show, but James is actually struggling to get closure on a relationship.
Yeah, I know you guys mentioned some.
Yeah, he
I
got
didn't get the
broke.
detail, but
Yeah, let me break it down for you. I do like to tell everybody. He got broken up with in matric, during matric exams, and the girl gave him a letter and said, "Don't read it till you get home," and never spoke to him again after that.
Did you read the letter?
I did at school. I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That was a bad idea. I mean, I understand why she said don't read until you get home.
How bad was it? We never actually got into those details. Was it like you're a terrible person, I don't want to be with you, or was it just like I feel like this has run its course, blah blah blah?
It's
like,
not you, it's me.
Yeah.
So I
I'd
feel
rather
like
go with Mike to the matric dance.
Oh, hey,
you laugh. She did. She went with me to the matric dance.
after she
afterwards?
broke up with you.
No, we went to matric dance before we broke up
Oh, maybe that's why you broke up.
Yeah, how bad were you?
because
What
I
did
was
you
a
do?
terrible date.
Did you get
Possibly.
drunk?
I don't know. No.
So
I
what
don't-
happened?
I don't think so. I think I'm just a terrible person.
But I think to be fair, if we think back to our matric days, and we're realistic about it, we were all terrible dates.
Well said.
We were horrible
No,
people.
yeah,
Terrible
Yeah,
dates.
yeah.
Couldn't dance.
No.
Late. I was late to mine. I didn't really want to go.
You were late,
I was
but
late picking her up.
you're the person that always tells me to never be late.
James,
Yeah,
listen.
true that.
I'm not the one who got broken up with, so I didn't get it wrong. Yeah, I'm not going to take any advice from you on this one. I'm sorry. Sorry, I got defensive immediately there. But.
Jeez. Everyone just calm down.
So anyway, Spike, that's what happened with James.
Sorry to hear it.
Yeah.
Glad you're over it.
It was 6 years ago.
A little Scottish empathy there. You know, that they've always been
It's
known
about
to
as
be.
much as you're going to get.
Yeah, Spike, great to have you here, man. And you know, Formula One, something which is probably the most scientific sport in the world, outside of probably cycling. I think those two always always pushing the boundary, always. And I'm just glad to have you here. You know, we wanted to do kind of a review show, but we obviously had the first race on the weekend. And Sir Lewis, I want to start there.
Yeah.
And we can kind of reverse engineer your thoughts on sort of everything that's going to happen this season. And James, you started watching Formula One recently, didn't you? Before we get to Spike, who actually knows what he's talking about.
I did, and I started probably sort of seriously watching it midway last season, maybe beginning of last season. So I've slowly but surely gotten into it. I'm still learning about the tires and all of their different things, and softer and softest. And
do you support a team, or
I do.
Who? Just the team that's winning?
Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Red Bull's
They're good though. They're like second, huh? Glory hunting,
In
I like
recent years, they've become
Yeah.
relatively good.
Before you started watching, they were world champions. But
They were four times in a row.
Yeah.
Right? See, I know things.
They're
4
that
times in
Aussie
a row.
bugger, huh?
Daniel Ricciardo.
Danny Ricciardo.
There you go.
yeah.
Now he's at
and
McLaren.
before that, there was another Aussie bugger called Mark Webber.
Oh yeah.
There you go. That's actually true.
Oh, Mark Webber.
I know
Remember
a
him?
lot more than I thought I did.
Oh, all right. Well, that's
With Formula One, I mean.
a little subjective there. I'm not sure how we're going to measure that, but you've put it out there, and that's brave of you, James. Good for you, pal. Spike, before we get going,
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your love of motor vehicles. Actually.
Yeah.
Where did that start? Because like people obviously may or may not know. Where did it start for you? Because I know you love cars, and you know I always love hearing you talk about cars because you really are. You've got a brilliant way with words. Where did that love start?
I don't actually know. I just know that for a long time, I've really loved cars and motoring, and I started watching Formula One before James was born. And honestly, I wish I was joking, but that's true.
That is true.
So I've always had this affinity for racing and fast cars, and then the kind of the childhood thing of like Ferraris and Porsches and Lamborghinis that kind of grew over time to include just all cars. So I don't know where it started exactly. I know that I shared with my older brother. Him and I have got a big thing about cars. And yeah, I mean, I was a motoring journalist for 15 years, test driving cars for a living, which was phenomenal. It was a great gig.
That is awesome, man. So, geez. And so another thing that I've noticed about you is that when you do talk about motor vehicle, you seem like a student of it. You know, a lot of people are into what's happening now. And I just think, like for me with football and rugby and cricket, I enjoy it so much because I've taken time to like give myself that depth of, oh, what was happening in the 60s? What was happening with the West Indian teams or the 80s and 90s in cricket, you know? So for me, I'd probably want to find out from you as a hardcore supporter. And James, I'd like to hear your opinion as well. You know, with the way Formula One is now, before we get into this season, I remember in my days, it was Schumi, right? It was, were the drivers in your mind? Because I hear a lot of people kind of arguing now saying, the drivers were better back then. They were real drivers because there was less. And I don't know if the correct word is automation now or that assistance. Or do you think the demands of today's driving mean the guys are just better in this era? Or what do you think?
I think it's a mix of those things. I think the cars, if you're comparing drivers now to drivers then, it comes back to me to this whole greatest of all time argument, which spans all sports and a lot of things in life. And it's a complete rubbish argument. I mean, you can never have so-and-so is the greatest of all time because so-and-so played the game now or 30 years ago, and they're different. They're totally different. So the demands were different. So the one thing to take away from drivers now versus drivers then is that I think a lot of the drivers now are much more safety aware and much more safety critical. And a lot of the guys now, in fact, I'd go so far as to say is none of the guys now, if you gave them a car from the mid 80s or the early 90s and said go racing, they'd probably say no, because the safety wasn't there, because the cars weren't as strong, because the systems weren't as good, because the protection wasn't there. So I think that's the one side of it is they're, for want of a better phrase, lacking on that front. They don't have, you could say, oh, they don't have the balls that the guys did all those years ago.
Yeah.
But as far as the skill in driving the cars now, they're quicker than they've ever been. And, I don't care what you say about, the guys that were driving 30 years ago. Yes, they had skill. But to drive the cars now, it's a combination of physical ability, of supreme fitness levels, matched with an ability to calculate all the time where you are in the race and where you want to be in 10 laps and how to get there and how to communicate with your team, as well as at the same time managing the car real time while you're cornering with 3Gs going through your body. You're adjusting settings. And if you watch a lot of the onboards and you look at a lot of the lap guides from guys like Nico Rosberg, Romain Grosjean, those guys, they will say, as you're approaching this corner, you shift the brake bias forward. So they're flicking something on the steering wheel, which is not a physically demanding thing, but mentally, you've got to be doing that every single lap and just about every corner. Whereas the guys 30 years ago didn't have that. They just had to muscle the crap out of that car to make sure that they stayed on the circuit and they got around. So I think are they better now or less skilled now? I think it's a different skill set. It's not better or not better.
Yeah, but they're still peeing in their suits. I remember that was a thing.
What
do you do?
They have to.
It's 3 hours.
Yeah, well, no, it's 2 hours max.
2 hours.
They'll never race more than a race is 2 hours max. But even so, the guys will prepare as much as possible. But I think even every now and again, I mean, Nico Rosberg tells a great story of how when he was racing with Michael Schumacher at Mercedes, when Schumacher made his comeback and Rosberg and Schumacher were teammates, and he talks about the mind games that Schumacher would play. So I think it was before a qualifying session, Rosberg thought, no, I don't want to pee in my suit and I need to go. So he went to the pit garage in Monaco, and the pits there are notoriously tight. There's not a lot of space. There's not a lot of facilities. So there's one toilet in the pit lane, in the Mercedes-Benz pit. Mm-hmm. And Rosberg knocks on the door, and Michael's like, no, I'll be out now. And then proceeded to wait like 10 minutes before he was just sitting in there so he could get out, get into his car and put Nico at a disadvantage, because Nico was like stressing that he had to go for a pee and then get in the car and then go qualify. So,
Wow.
I think they're prepared to not pee in their cars, but sometimes they kind of have to.
That is so great. Like Michael Schumacher. Michael Jordan, that's like another level of competitive.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I'm not a brand of competitiveness that I particularly like. I mean, if you're gonna be competitive, do it on the track. You know? Be a Lewis Hamilton, and be a Charles Leclerc, and be tough and get your elbows out on the track.
Yeah.
The mind games to your own teammate, particularly. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. But that's probably why I'm not a number one in anything that I do, is because I'm too nice.
Yeah. You are a surprisingly nice guy.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. A lot of people told me, oh, that guy Spike, when you start working there, you're not gonna love him.
Yeah.
They were wrong. I just want to tell you.
Acquired taste is what I've heard.
You are. All right. Let's get into what's going on currently.
Yeah.
Phenomenal on the weekend. I caught some of the highlights.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, listen, I'm a sports guru.
Wait, hang on. Whoa, sorry. You knew we were doing an F1 show on Monday. You didn't bother to put in the time and watch the actual F1.
Here's what I think.
Baby steps.
I think I think life is preparation. I'm always prepared. So I felt like, this will just be a part of life, and I'll just sort of through osmosis kind of absorb it and take it all in.
Mm.
But that last lap is one of the most sensational things I've ever seen. And for anybody who watched that, as somebody who hasn't really watched much Formula One since probably Schumi stopped, is what happened there. So he went off the track.
Yeah.
And I mean, so does that you can't gain position while?
So the regulation is you can't gain an advantage if you can't overtake someone first of all by exceeding the track limits, and you can't gain an advantage by leaving the track. So there's a whole debate as well about the track limits at Abu Dhabi and how they were sometimes enforced and sometimes not. And then towards the end of the race, the marshals were like, okay, well, these are the track limits, don't cross them. They eventually got it right. There's grumblings, rightly so, about how they've managed track limits, particularly yesterday. But what happened was Verstappen chased down Hamilton and put in a passing maneuver, but it was at turn 4 that he managed to get round him, but had to leave the track in order to do that. So there's two ways you can manage that situation, and the one is what Verstappen wanted to do, because he knew, he admitted afterwards that he'd crossed the track boundaries, track limits, come in front of him and gain the advantage, and he would have to give the place back, or he'd get penalized. And normally the penalty is a 5-second advantage in that kind of situation. It might have been more severe because of because it was for the lead. But what Verstappen wanted to do was stay in the lead, risk a penalty of 5 seconds, and then all you'd have to do is pull out a 5-second lead, which he probably would have managed to do given the state of his tyres before the overtake and given the state of Lewis's tyres at the time. And the team race control came onto the phone and got hold of the Red Bull pit wall and said, no, he's gained an advantage. He must give the place back. And the Red Bull told him to do that, and he did. He pulled over, gave the position back, and then tried to mount another attack.
Oh, one of the most thrilling things I've seen probably in a year in sport. That was like sport at its finest.
Yeah.
And the drama, you can't script that.
Yeah, but this is what I enjoyed about this race yesterday. I mean, sure, the final laps were incredible for that chase down of Verstappen's, and the way that Lewis managed it, even right to the end where he was still at a disadvantage. Verstappen had cooked his tyres a bit by the time he tried to retake the lead. But even the way that Hamilton managed it, since his second stop, and how he managed to eke out those tyres was incredible to watch. But as well as that, all the way through the race, there were these really like little mini battles that were for points maybe, or for lower points or no points. But at one point you had Alonso battling Vettel with Sainz behind them, all within close proximity, battling each other for positions. At one point you had Raikkonen overtaking Alonso. These are like world champions of past, battling each other on track, and they were really nice little battles to watch. So I think the race, for a lot of reasons, was exciting from that point of view. There was a lot of close racing all the way through.
And hey, by the way, motorsport, all motorsport, listen up. Do it at night. Oh my God, that takes it to another whole level.
No, it's phenomenal.
Just everyone do it at night. I
Yeah.
never want to see a race during the day again.
Yeah.
Oh, that was unbelievable. I guess it's Bahrain. They do it differently there, huh?
Well, it's one of 3 night races. So there's Bahrain, there's Abu Dhabi, there's Yas Marina, and then there's Singapore. Singapore is the original night race.
Oh,
and Singapore is, wow, it's something incredible to see. I'm lucky enough to have been to that race before, and it's just phenomenal.
just do it at night.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, we've made the rule on the show now. It looks better. It is better.
Yeah.
Do it at night. There we go.
Someone needs to contact the FIA.
Yeah.
Anybody-
The problem is that Formula One's going for this whole, eco-friendly, carbon neutral, pursuit over the next few seasons. So they're wanting to lower their carbon footprint, and unfortunately, burning floodlights for every race is probably counter to that. They're not going to get that right.
Hey, I'm not a hippie, so do it at night. I just want to watch. Listen, I'm paying subscription for a subscription channel.
Yeah.
Do it at night. I want to watch something awesome. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not going to get into the debate of how much of that subscription goes to F1, but
Well, that's listen. I can't do everything. Before we move on to, I want to get an overview of the season, because I tell you what I am probably going to do is I'm going to end up betting on Formula One, make it exciting for myself.
right.
Um,
You've just said that the last lap was one of the most exciting things you've watched in a year, and now you're saying you want to make it exciting.
Well, I mean, listen, just because I had a good relationship with my ex-girlfriend doesn't mean I'm going to get in another relationship.
Wow.
You know, that was just a once-off.
Did that
kind of thing.
relationship also last for one lap?
I'm no comment. No comment. We're still friends. I'm a good person. I'm a good person.
Does she know you're still friends?
Touche.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Dutch Belgian phenomenon. That Verstappen, is he something, or is he? Do you think he's just
No,
a
he's
product
special.
of Red Bull?
He's very special, and he will be a world champ. There's very little doubt amongst anyone in Formula One that he will be a world champ. I think he's still a little bit. I suppose it's a tough one because he's racing against Hamilton, who's one of the most polished drivers ever in the history of the sport. And for me, Verstappen's got he's phenomenal, but he's still got that little bit of extra to go before he's the real. He is the real deal, but he's just a little bit rough around the edges sometimes. And I think that he occasionally pushes the boundaries. And he occasionally tries to get away with things. We saw it with him and Leclerc in Austria last year, where he basically bumped Leclerc straight off the track while during an overtake. And he's not scared to get his elbows out. He had a few ding-dong battles with Dan Ricciardo when they were teammates. So, but he will get there, and he is a very, very quick, and he's a very special driver.
Can you buy the jumpsuits? Like
Fire suits.
Yeah, like the Red Bull one.
I'm sure you can buy it. Yeah,
I'm gonna get his. I'm gonna be a Red Bull fan now. Everything you've just said about this young man is what I love about sport.
Yeah, I think the thing you can buy the fire suit. The problem is when a racing driver wears it, it's a fire suit. When you wear it, it's a onesie.
Listen,
So if you can withstand the comments about wearing a onesie as a grown man, then yeah.
a lot of people have been saying that I'm the African Verstappen. That's what the people are saying. I'm not
really?
saying that. Yeah, but it's out there. I don't really want to argue.
The West African.
Yeah, the West African. Yeah.
Who are can
Oh, it's out there. Numerous
Okay.
people.
Just
They're left, right. You know, I don't really want to
up,
get
down, backwards?
into it.
Wrong, right.
Yeah. All right, listen. Let's give the people a bit of a season review, right? I want to start at the top. Merc AMG, your thoughts on their prospects and what they're about this season.
I think the thing to remember about Mercedes AMG is that they are there's two things. One, they are the most winningest team in the history of the sport, just about. They're on the verge of an 8th World Championship title, unprecedented. They've got the driver with the most wins in history. The guy's breaking records left, right, and center. He's now knighted. I mean, what else do you need? So that's the one thing to remember, is that they know how to win.
Yeah.
They're very, very good at winning. The other thing to remember is that they have immense resources. So if things don't quite go their way, they're very good at adapting, and they're very good at throwing resources to solve the problem. And that starts before they've even gone racing. You know, it starts all through winter with their design and their testing, their procedures, and the equipment like their chassis dynos that can replicate conditions across tracks all over the world. So they have the resources, both in terms of technical and in terms of personnel, to just continue winning. It's going to take a monumental effort and a bit of luck, I think, from the other teams for them to lose.
Interesting point here that I want to jump in on is, so you've just mentioned resources. So if I'm the sultan of some place, and I
just
buy,
to be clear, you're not the sultan of some place.
at the moment,
Right.
not yet.
Right.
I am looking to marry into that
Right.
sort of tax bracket,
yeah.
but I'm not right now. I'm not the sultan of Oman or whatever.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief.
All right.
But if I've got the money
Yeah.
and I buy a team, can I then? How long would it take me to compete with Mercedes-Benz? Because I've always wondered about exactly what you're saying.
Again, it's difficult to say, because I mean it's not just because you buy all the toys doesn't mean you've got the people and the skills to be able to put a working Formula One team together, because there's still obviously the personnel dynamics. So the people you hire might be brilliant, but they might hate each other and might not work well together. So it's a whole conglomeration of things. It's the toys, it's the personnel, how well they work together, how to create that winning mindset, and the FIA have put things in place to make sure it's less about the money and more about the skill of the people involved.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do, that they've implemented this year, and it'll only get more stringent from next year, is they've introduced regulations that limit, it's a success-based limit on the testing you can do specifically around aerodynamics. So the teams will do aerodynamic testing in their wind tunnels. And what the FIA have done is said, right, if you are the top team, aka Mercedes-Benz, you get, and I don't know what the exact figure is, but you get a certain amount of hours in the wind tunnel this year. If you are Williams, the most losing team, then you get exponentially more hours in your wind tunnel, so you can develop at a faster rate than the winning teams. And the idea is to level out the field, close the gap, and make the racing closer. So ultimately, you might be the sultan and you might have a lot of money, but it doesn't mean that you're going to have instant success.
Parity is king. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to create a product,
Yeah.
you know, the NFL's nailed it. Parity is.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, that's awesome. James, your thoughts on Sir Lewis Hamilton being knighted, by the way?
Honestly, no.
Are you sure you want my thoughts?
Oh, let's hear it. What you got? You got plenty of thoughts on everything.
I do.
Except this one, apparently.
Yeah. I thought you would have thought this through. I thought it would be
No,
at the top
look,
of your list of things to talk about.
We did have a conversation earlier, and I want to make sure that I can back up what I say.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Mhm.
Brings a nice change.
There you go. Because after, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Great for him that he's knighted and stuff. Good on you. Good job.
Would you turn
But-
it down? Yeah. But
I wouldn't turn it down. I would not turn down a knighthood. But
so why can't you be happy for Lewis Hamilton that he's been knighted?
He just said, good for him.
But I mean, there was a tone. there.
I I don't agree with his way of being, if that makes sense.
Hey,
Oh,
take me
wow.
into it.
He's-
Take me into it.
He is
Unbelievable.
he's incredibly arrogant.
Okay.
So I'm not I think he's an incredibly talented driver. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He's won, I think it's 7 in a row now, right?
Mhm, that's right.
7 championships in a row. Incredible.
Not bad.
More than anyone's done it. He's.
Well, no, Shumi's got
No,
7.
Shumi's got 7
So
as
that's
well.
also that's equal.
I thought
to
he was
8.
just
8 is
over
more than
Shumi,
7.
yeah.
Listen, after didn't have maths. I get that. I get that whole
Wow.
thing. Yeah. So 7 and 7 are the same number.
Yeah, that is correct.
Cool.
Look, I don't know. He's a great driver and all.
Yeah.
Super talented. Just in general, I'm not a fan of arrogant people, and
Okay.
he is that.
Oh
Like
my
I
God,
said,
you're such a
was
hero.
it you
You're such a
or
hero.
Spike that I said to this morning that I think if he could date himself, he would?
Oh my God, James, you're such a hero.
Why?
You don't like arrogant people. God, that's a wonderful
don't.
message for the kids.
I don't
What
like
about world
arrogant people.
poverty? What do you think about world poverty? Do you want to stop
It's
that?
a terrible thing.
Do you know what you should have been as a beauty pageant winner?
Why?
Because just the arrogance and, I just want to feed the children of the world. Oh my God, James, what a hero. Oh, what a legend. So you don't like Lewis, huh? You think Lewis Hamilton go to hell?
Genuinely, I'm very, very happy for him. It's a massive achievement to be knighted. I am.
Didn't sound like it. You just went on a tirade on saying what an arrogant bastard he is, basically. I'm just
I
translating
didn't go that far.
it. But I mean,
It's an incredible achievement to be knighted.
Yeah.
We all know this, right? But I don't agree with.
You don't like Lewis, huh?
I don't like him as
What
a
is it? Is
person.
it the cars, the money, the fashion? Like, what do you want him to do with his money?
I'm not telling him what to do with his money. at all.
Well, you said he's arrogant. You clearly have a
I mean,
suggestion.
he,
Okay,
he
so
is avoiding tax. I'm just saying.
okay, but
I'm just saying.
little libelous there.
No, it's true. He is avoiding tax.
He does live in Monaco.
He does live in Monaco.
Okay, so he's arrogant. James, since you're perfect, what would you do if you had 800 million pounds, which was what I presume he has? I don't know if he has that number. Give more to people. Like, what should he do with his money instead of buying a Rolex watch?
I think you need to rephrase your question.
Okay, James.
It should be, James, what are you going to do
When you become.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
right.
God, James,
Yeah.
your chakras. All right, go ahead. Yeah. Manifest that money. What should he do? Should he buy more blankets for his grand? Like,
I mean, I don't know. I feel like the way he spends his money is not what makes him arrogant, but he just has this holier than thou attitude about himself.
oh, James. So it's personal. It's personal, huh?
I mean, I don't know him personally.
Sir Lewis Hamilton to you, James.
I saw it on the TV this weekend. It
To
made
us
me
plebs, it's Sir Lewis Hamilton.
yeah, have some respect, James. The guy's been knighted.
I was actually going to go to a Grand Prix last year,
Okay.
and then COVID happened.
Bastard.
I was going to go to the Vietnam Grand Prix.
Oh, really?
Oh, that didn't even happen at all in any shape or form.
Exactly.
No. Your brother lives in Vietnam.
He
huh?
does. He does.
Hey, he got there, 30 years too late, which is a good thing for him.
Well, how do you mean?
Well, 30 years ago was a little awkward in Vietnam. Bit of a war, James. It does have to teach you anything.
40 years ago.
Was it more 40 years ago?
Yeah.
James, do you know
50
any
years ago, in fact.
How old are we right now?
Wow, that's terrible.
You've just dropped a bomb on
No,
me.
that's terrible. 50 years
Look,
ago. half
there's a
century.
reason my brother's the history teacher and not me.
So, James, you didn't know about the Vietnam War?
I know the Vietnam War was a thing. I don't know when it was.
Unbelievable. Yeah, okay, all right. Your thoughts on Lewis being knighted?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's,
There we go.
it's, yeah.
A grown-up, a
He
man
won't,
who's...
I found out today that he won't the investiture, which is when he goes there and actually gets the sword and
Uh-huh.
from old Liz.
Yeah?
That won't happen
Liz.
for another year. They've cancelled all the events for
brutal.
the rest of the year, and they said, sorry, anybody who, if you're an OBE or a CBE or a Teletubby or a whatever, then you don't get anything until we reinstate the investiture procedures. So they have multiple of them throughout the year.
Yeah.
And so next year he has
That
to.
is wild. He has to wait a year.
Yeah, him and Michael Rashford. Who's Rashford?
Marcus.
Marcus
Rashford.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
fed the kids.
Is he getting an
him and
OBE
James.
or an MBE?
I don't know. He
Yeah.
plays football.
But he's getting knighted, and James, he's more like your
That's my
type
boy.
of guy,
That's
right?
my boy.
He's feeding the kids,
Ah,
organizing
good
the
man.
schemes.
Good
Yeah.
man.
That's
Oh
my
my
boy.
Do you know, Paolo said it brilliantly the other day. James isn't looking for sports heroes. He wants a brother-in-law. He wants somebody he can hang out with.
No, I'm not. My thing is, okay, if you're going to be someone that's in the public eye and you have this massive influence over millions and millions of people,
Mhm.
use it wisely.
Okay,
Don't be a dick.
No, but using it wisely and being a dick are two different things entirely. Because Hamilton is doing a lot for diversity and equality in F1. He was a big pusher of the
got
Black
the
Lives
whole-
Matter and We Race as One. He's doing within his own organization, his own team of people. He's banned things like single-use plastics. So
Yeah.
he's that's his other thing that he's on.
Maybe that
So that's just some of the stuff
That we know about.
Yeah, and you've called him just the biggest dick in the world,
Yeah.
James.
And also, just to be fair to James, I honestly believe this, that all Formula One drivers are arrogant.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think there's a professional sportsman in the world at the top of their game who's not arrogant. Because you will never get there unless you believe you are the best in the world. Even if the results every weekend tell you that you're not, you have to believe that you're best. Otherwise, why are you wasting your time?
And James,
you're not going to get into a car.
Thank you.
You're not going to get into a multi-million-pound car and go, hopefully I'll be able to keep up. You know what I mean? You're going to go there, today's my day.
I'm the guy.
Yeah, I'm the guy.
Can you imagine? He's got, because he went from go-karts, is it Formula 3, Formula 2, Formula 1?
You start generally in karts and then you escalate your way through.
Imagine how many people he had to beat just to get in a Formula 1 seat. So forget about being the best, at the best in the world. James, what about that? You never ever think of him, single-use plastic, all the grind, getting up early, being the first one there, black dude in Formula 1. I mean...
Not being particularly wealthy.
I said it. Okay.
Coming from a poor family.
Not poor, just not
Formula 1 rich.
Not Lawrence Stroll wealthy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I said it though. Absolutely, congratulations on United.
Oh my goodness.
Great job. You got your 7 world titles. Awesome job.
I do think it will be a fail though, and I hope he does it. If he doesn't say to the team, look, just delete the Hamilton on the side of my car and put there Sir Lewis. That's what I want to see.
That's the one. Let's finish off with this. All right, we touched a little bit on them. Red Bull, your thoughts this year? Listen, I love that Verstappen kid from what you've said. What you've said now, honestly, I'm not kidding. I don't know if I can get a shirt.
No, you can.
I may even get the full jumpsuit.
You can. So just quickly to interrupt. You can buy like the jackets and stuff that they wear on the pit wall.
No. I want
from
the
a
full
website,
jumpsuit. Forget
and
that.
They have them for like $3,500.
I don't want a jacket.
Yeah, you can,
I want the full
no,
jumpsuit.
you can buy a lot of merch. I don't think you can buy the fire suits. I think those are
Fire suits.
Yeah, they're made specifically for the driver. I don't think they sell it. But you can buy Red
At
Bull
Four Ways
merch.
Mall, where you guys are planning on going.
No.
Don't
Forget
tell
that.
people that.
Yeah. Change.
Guys, Four Ways Mall.
I'm a big
tomorrow
deal.
morning,
James,
8 o'clock.
Unlike you, I'm a big deal.
They're
You
looking
can't tell
for a
people.
racing simulator.
Please don't tell people where I'm going. I'm a massive deal. People are gonna crowd the whole place out. Listen, I'm not. You know what? I'm gonna email everyone at Red Bull, and I'm gonna get one of those suits just to spite James. He's saying I can't get one. Now
I'm
it's
not
my.
saying you
No,
can't get one.
I'm saying I doubt you can get an actual Red Bull fire. You could probably get a replica knockoff from somewhere.
You've given me a life mission now.
There we
I'm gonna get a Red Bull's fire suit, the official driver's one.
Current.
Within the next 12 months.
Current.
I will get within the next 12 months. I will do a full MKT show in a Red Bull suit.
Write it down.
Can we hold you to that?
No, this is
We're
gonna
writing
happen.
it down. It's going on the
So
list.
while you write that down, we have a tweet about the whole Lewis Hamilton saga.
Cool, let's hear it.
There's a difference between arrogance as an F1 driver and being felt hard done by every time something doesn't go his way. Just once, I would like to see him congratulate other drivers instead of having a long lip when he doesn't finish first.
See, I disagree with that because he very often says, well done, great race to those guys, or he doesn't dwell on it.
Yeah.
He doesn't spend, he doesn't fawn about it, but he does say congrats.
Yeah. Did that tweet come from James Illingsley?
Could have.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Maybe I
James
tweeted our
underscore-
personal account.
Oh, James, you need to deal with some stuff. There's some hate in your heart for Lewis Hamilton that you have to deal with. But I want
Hate
to.
is a strong word.
It is a strong word. Listen, Red Bull. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Red Bull are going to be the ones to take the fight to Mercedes this year, and I think that for a couple of reasons. The first is that Valtteri Bottas, who is Lewis Hamilton's erstwhile teammate, I have the feeling that he's getting less and less effective and just less and less enthralled with his position within Mercedes AMG. So yesterday, for example, they botched his pit stop, which is obviously not intentional, but it meant he finished 30 seconds off the pace. And if you're 30 seconds off the pace of your teammate, then that has to impact you badly. And he said as much in the post-race interviews. He said, he didn't think the team was being aggressive enough with his strategy. So there's that kind of niggle to start off early in the season. And I think when you're playing at the top of the field, you need both cars battling. You need the whole team battling with your nearest rivals. And I think adding to that is the fact that Red Bull have signed Checo Perez, who is a phenomenal talent, great guy, lots of experience. The way he managed his electronics failure on the way to the grid yesterday was marvelous. What happened was he was on his way on the warm up on the formation lap, and his electronics failed. His car cut out completely. He had no radio, had no comms with the pits, and he managed the process himself. He managed to get that car restarted on his own, where a lot of other drivers would have been like, oh, well, the car's poked, I'm getting out.
Wow.
So that's the level at which this guy operates. You know, he's a proper competitor, and he's got a lot of experience. So I think if you combine that, the fact that you've got the phenomenon that is Verstappen, you've got the talent and the doggedness that is Perez, who won his first race, final race of the year last year, was his first victory after 10 years in Formula One. Perez started the race yesterday from the pit lane, finished 5th. So he's a phenomenal driver, and he's getting used to that Red Bull. So I think Red Bull are a real threat because they've got two very, very capable drivers in a car that's closer than it's been to Mercedes-AMG for a very long time. Across a number of seasons, they're getting closer. They've proved it in qualifying. We saw it in the race yesterday, how close Verstappen and Hamilton were. So you've got these two Red Bulls, very quick, in the hands of very capable drivers, against sort of 1.5 Mercedes-Benz, if I could put it that way, because Bottas isn't always in it.
Yeah,
he isn't always in it. And I think it's going to be a very interesting fight throughout the season. And I think this year Red Bull might actually, if they don't win the drivers, they have a very good chance of winning the constructors.
You know what I've always thought about in Formula One? The dynamic of, you've obviously got your Alpha. Let's use Lewis in this, Sir Lewis.
Oh, not Alfa Romeo.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, also a car.
Yeah,
yeah. I see how that can be mistaken. But I've always thought about the personality dynamic there, right?
Yeah.
Is you got to have your Alpha, like I'm Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, I'm driver one, whatever, what's the term there? Anyway, and then you've got the second driver.
Yeah, first and second drivers.
So now your second driver, I've always wondered why sometimes teams would have two Alphas.
Yeah.
Is that like a good thing, would you say? Where who, was it Jensen and someone else in the same team? And Lewis, eh?
Lewis and Jensen were teteammates for a while.
And they didn't love each other, huh?
No, the big fallout with that was McLaren. The big fallout was Alonso and Hamilton. Yeah. They had a big coming together, and that's what can go wrong. And it was the same with Prost and Senna back in the day, also at McLaren. It's something that can go wrong if you've got two dominant or alpha drivers, if you like, if you want to put it that way. It happened with Verstappen and Ricciardo. They had bangings, so it can happen. But I think as a team, certainly to my mind, you don't want a driver that's going to automatically just fit into a number 2 role. You want both your drivers to be pushing as hard as possible for as long through the season. But by the same token, you want to have a setup that puts the team first. So when it comes to that point in the season where mathematically any given driver can't win the championship and the other one can, then you say to that guy, look, you need to back off now. Now you need to support this guy because he has a chance of winning. You don't. And then hope that it goes out according to plan.
Because, when you spoke about that, I thought of one moment, and I think you know exactly what I'm going to refer to. It was Rubens Barrichello. He led basically the whole race.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then he got to the line and they basically told him, no.
So you have to back off.
And they were winning. I think for Schumi was already miles ahead.
It was the 6th race of the season, and it was way early. And I think it was Hungary. They told exactly as you said. They said to Ruben, let Michael pass for no apparent reason. But that's the way that Ferrari rolled back in the day.
That's how it is. Huh? I'm just thinking, there's no way. There is no way I'm Rubens there and I'm pulling back. Formula One, I don't know when I'm going to win a Formula One race. It is one of the most unlikely things in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
With my personality type, there's no... Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. You'd make a good Formula One driver.
Yeah. I would.
The ego and the arrogance. And
but it happened with Webber and Vettel at Red Bull. In 2012, I think, or 2013 at Korea, where there was the saga that was known as Multi-21.
Oh.
Because that was when team orders were banned. And unlike the Ferrari story, teams they weren't allowed to say to their drivers, you must pull over for so-and-so. So they had to have these coded messages. And the story at that race was that Multi-21 was the code for swap around. Webber was second, quicker than Vettel. Vettel was in the lead. They issued Vettel with a Multi-21. Vettel was like, screw you guys, I'm not. Oh. And he didn't pull over, and he won. Vettel won that race. Webber came second. And there was huge fallout. Webber basically, I think that was the beginning of the end for Webber in terms of his relationship with the team, certainly with Vettel. But you know what? Vettel went on to win the World Championship that year, and that's what it comes down to.
That's what it takes,
Yeah.
huh?
I'll take the short-term pain of being the bad guy in the team because ultimately it means I win another world championship.
James,
I don't care.
And so unlike James, who's looking for a brother-in-law, you
Yeah.
actually want to do your job.
I'm not.
And unlike me, look, let me tell you something. I would be a second driver if I got a call on the phone going pull over. The other famous one was Rubens Barrichello's engineer saying to him when Alonso was at Ferrari, saying Fernando is faster than you. Fernando is faster than you.
Oh, yeah.
And that was code for get out the way. And
Wow.
I would be that guy. I would get out the way.
Although, Spike, you are genuinely now, you are one of the nicest people in the world. I could see you being a number 2 driver.
Yeah,
just
totally. Totally.
like you, James. You
like me.
James,
So him and I would be useless in a
Yeah,
Formula
yeah.
One.
You'd be
No,
the
after you.
worst.
No, after you. No,
Yeah.
after you. No, please, I insist.
you're the worst. By the way, we'd leave you at the previous race, you guys.
Sorry, before we move on, I think this is directed at you.
Yeah.
Who's you, by the way? Some people are listening to this.
Spike.
All right, there we go.
I looked at him.
Yeah,
Not
but
for me.
no, people can't. The thing is, when you listen on the podcast, do you notice how you can't see? So you
So
have
for
to.
those listening to the audio version,
Ah,
this
there
is
we go.
directed at Spike,
Uh-huh.
the F1 expert that's sitting to my left.
It's a strong word.
Yeah.
What, left or X? Will Bottas cause more difficulties for Lewis or stick to the plan? Sounds like he's going to do his own thing.
Yeah, he said at the beginning of the year he wants to be. It's a selfish year for him. He's going to do what he wants, but ultimately he can't because he tried it last year where he said to the team, I can't remember which race, but it was incredibly tight between Bottas and Hamilton. And Bottas said, whatever the strategy is for whatever, I think it was the tire change, whatever tires Lewis goes on to, put me on the opposite tires because he wanted to gauge that he only wanted to give himself a chance. He didn't want to just carry on following Lewis. And he said to the team, I want the opposite tires. The team were like, screw you, we'll put you on the tires that we want to put you on. So he can try do his own thing, but ultimately he's at the mercy of the team. You know, he can be as aggressive as he like, but the bottom line is also he's got to get up there with Hamilton. He's got to be able to stick with Hamilton, pass Hamilton, and stay in front of him. Otherwise, you know, it's going to amount to nothing. He's not going to be able to do anything. And he's just unfortunately proven over the years that he's good on his day, but generally he gets pantsed by Hamilton.
And will the second car be much worse than the first car?
They're all, in theory, they're all identical.
Okay.
They might run at certain races different parts on different cars because they want to test something, so they run a different nose or a different something in the rear wing, but the engine is the same. The aerodynamics package is basically the same. They carry the same. The cars weigh the same. The only weight difference is the driver. So the equipment is the same.
Okay, so you're not shafting the
You're
second
not,
driver.
you're not. What they have, I think, relaxed over the years, and I don't know if this is an actual thing or they're saying it for the sake of PR, but there's two sides to every garage, right? You've got.
Oh, that's a great statement, by the way.
Here we go.
Two sides to every garage. All right.
I'm going to incorporate that.
Yeah,
from now on.
Go on.
So you've got driver A and driver B. They're out there testing, they're out there practice, they're out there qualifying, and they collect a vast amount of data. And what used to happen in the past is the teams either side of the garage would not share the data with each other. And it got to that point in 2016, I think, with Rosberg and Hamilton's World Championship, where Rosberg towards the end of the year was like, "Screw you, I'm not sharing my data," because he knew that he had a chance to win the World Championship. So there's a difference there. And the teams now say, "Oh no, we share our data across, whether they do or not actually."
Yeah,
in-house. Yeah, whether it's a truthful statement or not.
F1 seems like a really shady sport to me. Like a lot.
What, like cycling?
Yeah. Like
that too, I guess.
Yeah,
and probably football and rugby and
and
every
Earth.
other. Anyway,
Planet Earth. So, breaking news to James Ellingsley: people can do bad things.
and years have seasons. Also,
Yeah. I don't think it's shady. I think it's competitive advantage. I think it's ultra competitive, and it's a sport with such tiny margins.
Absolutely.
Minimal margins.
And
that
James
makes the difference.
James is looking for best friend,
Yeah.
not for competitive. Yeah, if anyone's competitive, don't be James's friend because it's just not going to work. Let's move on. McLaren. For me, one of the blue bloods, as somebody who hasn't watched for a long time, but when I think Formula 1, I think Ferrari, McLaren. It's
Yeah.
the second one that comes to me. I think Coulthard, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, you and I are unpopular in that regard because I'm also a Coulthard fan.
Oh,
People hate him,
listen.
understandably.
Important for me to jump in here. Spike is a very Scottish man, and so I don't know if that has that
It does.
leads you
There's some,
At
there's
least
some-
you're honest.
Yeah, there's some ancestral pride there.
And
you know,
God, he had a great jawline.
he still has it.
Oh.
He has a huge jaw.
Coulthard's awesome, awesome
desperate-
Scottish accent, and
desperate
I
guy.
love him when he's commentating. Do you know what? Unlike the rest of them, who's the other commentator? Murray, and who was the other bloke?
There was Murray, who died recently, sadly.
R.I.P.
Martin Brundle is the
Brundle.
current one,
Listen, Brundle, great commentators,
and Croft.
no sense of humor. What I loved about Coulthard, he brought in some juice, like a lad, you know.
Yeah. No, he's a lad. He was a playboy in his day. He's a good character.
Yeah, I do like it.
But yeah, McLaren. I'm a long time McLaren fan. I started watching Formula One in the mid '90s when McLaren they dominated the '80s. They were one of the best teams in the sport. They were innovative bar none. They were the first team to run a carbon fiber chassis. All kinds of innovations from McLaren. They had Ron Dennis in charge. He was an absolute prick, but he could run that team like nobody's business. They had Senna racing, they had Prost racing, they dominated. That all came to pass in the mid-90s. They kind of fell off the wagon. They lost form, and like all sports, cyclical, so it took them some time. Mid to late 90s, again, they dominated with Hakkinen and Coulthard. Hakkinen won 2 of his world championships. And then there was some management fallout with the partners of McLaren. They bought Ron Dennis out, or they basically shafted him, gave him some money for it, I think. And that was then they started this kind of rebuilding phase. They kind of fell apart. They had Alonso and Hamilton as teammates, which at the time was this phenomenal. It was this great pairing. That kind of imploded a little bit.
It became a drama.
Yeah, it became a huge drama. Hamilton was world championship. They were still winning at the time, but then sort of early 2010s, it just really fell apart, and they lost form in a huge way. And they had Alonso come in again and race 3 seasons unsuccessfully, but now it's good to see they're on a resurgence. So they had a really good season last year. And they had a good season, not so much because they were necessarily the fastest team, the fastest of the midfield pack or the best of the midfield pack, but they were certainly the most consistent. And consistency wins. I mean, consistency is what gets you things in sport. So McLaren had a really good season last year, and they had a really good winter testing before this season. They've come into it now. I think Dan Ricciardo didn't have the best race, and he admitted as such he wasn't happy with the balance of the car. He struggled. So, he finished down in 7th, but Lando Norris, best of the rest, finishing 4th, just ahead of Sergio Perez. So I think McLaren will be very happy with their result, and I think they've made a strong statement that they are the leaders in the midfield. And of course, as the season evolves, the competition will come to them. But I think they've started off in a very, very strong way, and I think they will be very happy with their efforts.
So, like maybe a sleeper for that top 5 construction.
I don't even think a sleeper. I think if anybody's a sleeper, weirdly it's Ferrari, because they had a horrendous season.
Well, let's move on to Ferrari, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, the worst season in 4 decades, the most storied F1 team, and they've also come back really strongly. They had an engine that was down on power last year. They had an aero package that was a pile of poo. And it was going to be really interesting to see how the FIA's aero restrictions for this year impacted them, because the FIA basically took away a lot of downforce from every team. There were some new technical regulations that stripped some downforce from the rear of the car specifically, and everyone was like, oh, well, Ferrari's going to struggle because the aero package was already compromised. They've worked around it. They've got a better engine than they do last year, a much more powerful motor. The aero package seems to be working. They've got Charles Leclerc, who is also, Verstappen-like in his prowess, and they've got Carlos Sainz, who is absolutely dogged and a superb talent. Sainz in the race yesterday came out and said, look, he was being cautious. It was his first race for a Ferrari. He just wanted to get through that first lap. He lost a lot of positions and he didn't really recover. So he wasn't entirely happy, but I think 6th position for Leclerc, 8th for Sainz. They can be very happy with that, and I think they might be the ones who make a late charge for that 3rd position in constructors.
Hey.
I think the battle is on. If looking at the form of the first race, the battle is on. Ferrari versus McLaren, and it's going to be superb to watch because it's like the old days.
The blue blood.
So, So Spike on my left. See, I remember.
Oh well, no, but it's not because on the YouTube feed you're on my right.
You're on the
so
right, yeah. You're
anyway.
making a mess of it. You can just say his name, yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
Am I? Okay,
Oh
it
my
doesn't really
goodness.
matter.
After's a
Gosh.
complete waste of money.
The question is on the YouTube. Do you think Ferrari are going through that same rebuilding stage that McLaren had, and do you think it is as bad as McLaren's was?
No, definitely not as bad. They are rebuilding, no doubt, but it definitely wasn't as bad as McLaren. I think they had one bum season, and they're over it.
Yeah.
I think McLaren struggled for a long time. I know Ferrari also had similar team management issues, so they went through a number of team bosses. They went through some one or two high-level changes. I think the turmoil at McLaren was much greater, coupled with their technical deterioration. So I think Ferrari's bum season last year was not a one-off, but it's certainly not. They're not looking like they're heading that way this year. They are rebuilding for sure.
Yeah, but not quite as it's not deep a
No,
pit.
they don't have as deep a pit to come out of, and I think the fact that they've got Leclerc for a long-term deal, he's committed to the team. I think Sainz will go really well. He's the kind of guy who he takes commitment to another level. You know, when he was driving for McLaren, you know, he lived in England. Now he's driving for Ferrari, he lives in Italy.
In Italy,
You know, so he could be close to the team.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so you've
That's what you
got those kinds
Dedication.
of drivers who are ultimately utterly dedicated to that brand, and you've got a brand that will support them in return. And I think they'll come out strong.
Listen, word from the pits is that all signs are looking good for Ferrari.
Oh, how long have you been waiting to say that?
You know,
Damn it.
yeah. So there's that. Yeah.
I just want to put out there, no Stroll pun is going to be accepted. All right?
Hey, I don't know what's possible. I'm a genius. It just comes to me and it's gonna come out of my mouth. I like, you know.
What did you say? Say it again.
Genius is a gift and a curse.
What did you say? All signs.
All signs
all
are
signs
looking
are
good for
for-
Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the record, I like Carlos Sainz. And also for the record, I'm more a driver guy than a team guy. I mean, obviously, I have a long-standing affinity for McLaren, but I'm much more a driver guy, and Sainz is one of my guys.
And for the young kids, I mean, I remember who was it? Jean Todt. Hey,
Yeah,
it was
Jean
him.
Todt.
It was,
Ross Brawn.
by the way, a South African who's.
That was Rory Byrne.
Hey, great. I got a story for you about
Yeah,
Rory
yeah,
Byrne. His nephew was my landlord in Cape Town.
Really?
Yeah, wild story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And hey, how about that?
Jeez,
So I'm
amazing.
basically part of the Ferrari
Yeah,
team
yeah. You are
through extension.
a
really.
familia.
A lot of people saying again, the African
Yeah,
Jean Todt.
yeah,
A lot of people just
Yeah.
through osmosis.
yeah.
If you work it out.
Well,
through
yeah. I
science.
mean, it's similar. I mean, I've got a similar connection to Lewis Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went to Silverstone once.
Nice.
Yeah.
So-
All right. So
Close.
arise, Spike. All right, let's move on. AlphaTauri. What are we looking at there? And what are you thinking this season? Oh, clearly excited about
No,
that.
I think so. So one of the developments for this year was Honda have upped their engine power. So AlphaTauri is a Honda powered team. Pierre Gasly won at Monza last year. It was a crazy race, but
That
he
was
won. He kept his
incredible.
head. He won. I like Gasly primarily because I can call him the gas man and it fits. But no, I think he's a great talent. I think he got shafted at Red Bull. He didn't get a chance to really settle in there and show what he can do. I think he's a great talent. He's a great driver. And then coupled to that, now you have the rookie of the year that everyone's shouting about, Yuki Tsunoda, who
He did well in qualifying.
he
also,
did. No, he botched his qualifying slightly. Gasly was tops in qualifying, but Tsunoda finished ninth with a last lap overtake of Lance Stroll. And so, we've got these two really exciting guys for AlphaTauri in a car that has proven itself to be very reliable, very strong. It's a good package, and now with improved Honda power. So I think they might be in the mix for a midfield battle as well. I think we're going to see them regularly. And I think given the right conditions, we'll see them on the podium as well, at least one of them. And I really hope Tsunoda, has a good, solid season all the way through.
Hey, it sounds like F1 is back, dude. The way you're talking
Yeah,
about
man.
it, it's like there was a time when it was just like Lewis and the field, right?
Yeah.
But from what you're saying now, like I love that Ferrari and McLaren, and now you're saying Alpha back. Like that's just great. for
AlphaTauri,
sport. AlphaTauri.
don't
Sorry.
because there's Alfa Romeo, so let's not get them confused.
I mean, listen, it takes an alpha to know an alpha, as they say.
Yeah.
Hey, James. But that's good news for the sport.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I think a lot of credit has to go to Liberty Media, who bought it from the dinosaur Bernie Eccleston, who did a lot for the sport in his day. But wow, he was really like from my cold dead hands kind of vibe. He did not want to let it go.
He's got an exotic zoo. For those who'd like to go and look at his house in Brazil,
You're lying.
he has the most unbelievable looking Brazilian wife,
You are lying.
and he has an exotic zoo.
And he's got some beautiful daughters as well.
He's
One of them's-
very
one of
rich.
them's- One of them's a fashion mogul, I think.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
When you're
With
when
two
you're that
Cs.
rich, when
Yeah,
you're that rich,
yeah.
you're gonna marry, and he's a piece of work. But
Yeah, he's
you know, in his time, Formula One, I believe, needed him.
Yeah.
I think because there was a time, I think, just late 90s, early noughties, where I think Formula One was stagnating, especially with Schumi.
Yeah.
And then he brought that, he jet fueled it with the Sky deal, and then kind of bringing Lewis in and saying Lewis should be a global star. You know, he's great because he's a star of the sport. And then he obviously, you know, he did what he did and he wangled everybody.
I think what the real credit for me that Bernie deserves is the fact that he took Formula One from this, you know, boys club to this really exotic, exclusive, you know, really desirable brand to be involved with. You know, he made it super sexy.
Absolutely.
You know, he did make mistakes. They raced in places they shouldn't have raced. You know, Las Vegas and places like that. But ultimately, he made it a sport that people wanted to be involved with. Not necessarily go watch, particularly, but certainly if you're a brand with money and you want to be seen to be up there, then you go into Formula One. So from a commercial perspective, he made it really a spectacular success. But as you say, it stagnated. And I think he was an old school racer in that, you know, it was about the drivers and the fast guys and the battles, and he didn't want to change his recipe in a world where fans were going, I want more access. We need more accessibility. We need more involvement. It needs to be more tactile. And I think what Liberty Media have done, being the Americans that they are, have decided, cool, we've got this brand that's worth a lot, and they have opened it up in a way that, you know, is brand new to the world. You know,
You're going to turn it into a spectacle.
It's awesome.
it is a spectacle.
No, and you should.
Drive to Survive season 3. I cannot tell you how many people I know in my circle, family members, friends who used to watch Formula One when we were younger, like I'm talking 8-10 years ago, who stopped watching and are now watching again because of Drive to Survive, which wouldn't have happened without Liberty Media.
All right, let's do it.
So interesting.
Drive to Survive. What are we
So
talking about
No
there?
spoilers, no spoilers, no
But,
spoilers.
but
no
what is
spoilers.
it? Okay, what is it?
Go.
All I need to know is what is Drive to Survive. I think I heard you guys talking about it the other day. Maybe not.
Go.
James,
Me?
what is?
Yeah.
But don't spoil it for everyone, James.
I won't. Okay, so it's essentially they've got 3 seasons now.
Uh-huh.
They just finished the 3rd, and it's a behind-the-scenes all-access show where fans get to see the drama that happens in and amongst the teams, between the drivers, between the principals, and essentially how the teams operate on a daily basis. And you know, it's released a season after, if that makes sense. So season
the end
3
of the
was
season is the
about
term.
Yeah, so this
Basically.
current season is about 2020.
yeah.
Ah,
So you get the behind the scenes access of all the stuff that happened last season and why certain decisions were made, if a driver was fired or if a driver was
so real. Like, is it?
yeah.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
It's unscripted.
None of it is scripted.
It's
Okay.
it's as even if you're not a Formula One fan, if you like a good drama and you like content that's well put together, watch that show. It's completely
good.
unscripted. They interview the drivers, they interview the team managers, and obviously that forms part of the narrative. But the phenomenal thing for me is the way that they manage to get conversations during races and in the pit lane between, for example, Gunther Steiner, who is the boss, the team boss at Haas.
That is the best name
Yeah.
I've ever. That's a Bond villain.
Yeah, but wait till you hear him speak.
Oh yeah, full on.
He's
Gunther
Gunther
Steiner.
Steiner. Oh, he talks like this. He's got a great accent, and he talks like this.
It's exactly like that.
But
That's really cool.
You know, the one conversation last year, just to give it some context, you had Romain Grosjean and old K-Mag, Kev Magnussen, who were teammates, and they had a few comings together, and Haas has had a really volatile time since they joined in 2016. But it must have been 2019, because this is season 2, and Gunther Steiner in the pit lane on the phone after both his drivers had crashed out or crashed into each other or something had happened, that he was livid. And he was on the phone to Gene Haas, who is motorsport royalty. He's an American dude who's been in motorsport for decades. And Gunther Steiner, team manager at Haas, is talking to team boss and saying to the team boss, "Oh no, these guys need to go. They're making us look like funkers." But the camera is 10 meters away, and yet they can still hear it. And there's lots of those kind of conversations that you never hear on a Formula One broadcast. And
awesome.
All of those are stitched together in a way that delivers such an amazing story.
That's awesome. Drive to Survive, huh? Where do I watch it?
Netflix.
Oh, I don't.
It's Netflix exclusive.
I need to get Netflix. Hey, we need to stop pirating. People must stop pirating. I'm gonna get Netflix.
Why did you start pirating?
That's just wrong.
Listen, I'm humble. I was a bad person, but I've learned I've learned. That
Did
was
you
wrong.
learn that?
I did learn.
When was the last time you pirated?
Honestly.
3 years ago. No, honestly, 3 years ago was the last time I pirated. And I promise you, I have not pirated in 3 years, which is why I haven't seen a lot of stuff because I don't have Netflix. But honestly, 3 years ago, I've stopped pirating because also now it's very different when you work in the content game and you see what goes into making just our small world of podcasts. Honestly, I've grown a whole new level of respect for the process, which is why I don't pirate anymore. I refuse to pirate.
Like our process of spending a week building this whole setup.
Oh, that's No, I meant like Spike building the most. By the way, Blind History. While we're at it, James, let's actually talk about something that actually took hard work. Blind History, one of the most unbelievable series, and Spike, you were a part of that. So catch that on Cliff Central, because that's a really crafted thing.
Yeah, season 5 coming soon.
Season 5 coming soon. If you're a teacher, an educator somewhere, and you'd like to infuse kids with the desire to learn, it's an awesome starting point because it's done by Gareth and it's done by Anthony, who's phenomenal, by the way. So they'll infuse people with the desire to learn, and I think that's a great way to get kids involved. Blind History, go and look out for that, cliffcentral.com, Cliff Central app, or wherever you get your podcasts. So yeah, that's what I mean, actually, not setting up a studio. It took one day.
This took a whole week. What do you mean?
Oh,
We
sorry.
had to build this table.
Yeah,
we did from scratch.
With your own hands.
Noah's Ark vibes.
14 cubits.
Some people are saying, except that this table does exist. But okay, I don't want to get into.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to
That's
get
a
into
whole
that.
other podcast.
That's
man.
a
Damn it.
different show.
Let's just answer this question that we've got from YouTube and move on.
On the YouTube, huh?
Because that's an interesting topic.
Mhm.
Umbelelo, just ask one of your friends to join their Netflix.
Join their Netflix.
Yeah, so they can give you the
yeah.
pin and the email to.
Oh,
their
how about it,
Netflix.
James? Jimbo, how's it, my mate?
He has
How
to
you,
ask his
buddy?
mom because he lives at home.
Oh,
Actually, I pay for the Netflix for my whole family. I'm just saying.
oh, big man at home, big man on campus.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, with your pocket money from.
Mom, get my pocket money. I need to pay for Netflix.
Oh, Mom, Netflix isn't working. You haven't paid
Shame,
me.
man. You're on a hiding to nothing here. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Day, tough day.
Ew.
It is.
Tough
Sat
day.
around doing nothing for a good while. And
Yeah.
But that's true. You can, and that's not pirating because your Netflix feed, you can buy one screen, 2 screens, 5 screens, whatever.
Oh, so I need to just ask my mate James if you're as good a person
No,
as you say you
all
are.
his screens are taken.
All of
Oh,
the
they're
screens, one's in Hanoi, the other one's in Jeffreys Bay, the other one's in Poleshoff.
All right. Well, okay.
I'm Scottish, so I'm too tight to spring you
hey,
for Netflix. Sorry
I
for you.
didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. The Scottish people are tight and wouldn't give to their own mother if she was dying. I didn't say
It is
that. Uh,
what it is.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Listen, probably the car I would get if I became a gajillionaire, which is a real word.
Yeah.
Aston Martin.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Aston Martin DB9. But I want the Bond one. Remember the one where he was on the snow?
The Vantage. Oh,
I can't remember.
yeah.
I can't remember what that one was. I think
it was DB9.
it was Brosnan's last
Yeah.
Bond. I stand to be corrected, but
Yes.
it was Brosnan
Yeah.
for me, the only
And
person.
the baddie had the diamonds in his face.
That's the one.
Yeah, Rosamund Pike was the Bond girl.
Holy smoke.
Look at that.
I've not watched a single
that.
Bond, by the way. It got horrible after Brosnan went off.
Daniel Craig, best Bond ever.
Is he?
It's pure.
He looks like he
No,
looks like a
he's-
bouncer.
We're going to go down a rabbit hole here, but it's not so much Daniel Craig's Bond, it's the way that Bond's been written for those stories. He's now a real character. He's now a real assassin. He's a real hard ass. He's not some wisecracking martini
You
drinking
kinda like
womanizer.
that.
No, he's a proper character. He's got real balls. You know?
Flaws and
Yeah,
dark,
yeah,
the dark side.
Dark,
Kind of
gets
like Christopher
injured.
Nolan's Batman.
Best Batman ever.
I agreed. Hey,
So if you appreciate Christopher Nolan's Batman, you'll like Daniel Craig's Bond.
all right, maybe.
Recommendation: just don't pirate it.
It's been 3 years.
Before we
I'm in
fall
recovery.
into Aston Martin, sorry, there's been 2 comments that are directed at you about your Netflix situation.
Who's you?
as you're
Who's you?
currently-
Again.
on the job training.
Take a mulligan. Take a mulligan. Take all the time you need, James. It's not like there's people listening, and we know, dead air isn't the enemy of quality
Anyway,
audio. Yeah.
so the question is, Netflix is cracking down on this soon, apparently, so you can't share accounts too soon.
Oh, so that was a lie. You guys just
you
lied.
could have, but apparently they are cracking down.
Are they cracking down, or are they cracking down on you and your brother in Hanoi? Because I know they're cracking down on IP things.
They could be.
Oh.
They could
Like
be.
I know I had 2 screens on my account,
Uh-huh.
and I canned one. Because I got 2 screens originally, and a friend of mine was sharing my account locally, and then for some reason he decided no, he wants to get his own Netflix, so he got his own Netflix, and then didn't tell me, and then it came up in conversation, so I canned the one. So I think if you're in the same content location,
I
it's
see.
okay. I think that's the deal.
Then the
Okay,
the
tell
other
that
one,
person, whoever they are, do more research before you do a comment.
it's
Also, thanks for listening to the show.
Yeah, also, but
it's,
yeah.
Dylan Dooley.
Hey, Dylan Dooley,
that is.
you need to do some research.
Double D, do your research.
And then the last one, you can rent my account for 299 Rand a month, but just for April.
I like it.
All right, listen, we'll talk offline. Well, listen, I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit. All right,
lovely.
Aston Martin this season, what you thinking?
Yeah, Aston Martin, I think they had a tough testing. They had a tough winter testing. I think they had a lot of hopes, and they do have a lot of hopes pinned on their signing of 4-time champ Seb Vettel. And of course, Lance Stroll, team boss's dad, is the other driver in Aston
That's
Martin.
hilarious.
Daddy's boy.
Not uncommon. So the backstory to that is Lawrence Stroll got his son Lance into, I think it was Racing Point. I'm not sure if it was Force India at the time, but anyway, he's been racing. Lance Stroll has been racing for Racing Point. Lawrence Stroll got involved, and then Lawrence Stroll bought a controlling stake of Aston Martin. He brought Aston Martin back to Formula One, which was phenomenal, just from a marketing point of view. To see the name on the grid is excellent. But of course, they turfed Sergio Perez because they're not going to fire the dad's
the kid.
driver. So
Yeah.
no. So the result is that Lance Stroll is there with his lockdown haircut, and Seb Vettel is their other driver, and I think they got a lot pinned on him. They're a good team. They do a lot with limited resources by all accounts. They don't have the biggest budgets in the world. They don't have the most resources in the world, but they did take the fight to McLaren last year. They were beaten just in the last race to 3rd place in the constructors. So they are a capable team. They can do excellent things, and they've always been a team that punched above their weight, even back in the Force India days, and that's going back some years. So I think, with all of that said, I think they will be arguably one of the most upset or most unhappy teams, possibly with the exception of Alpine, out of yesterday's race. Seb Vettel cocked it up in qualifying. He had some really bad luck with some yellow flags, double-waved yellows, and then he qualified. He didn't make it out of Q1, so he qualified way down 18th, I think. Compounding that, he then got a penalty for ignoring the waved yellows, and then got demoted to the back of the grid and got 2 penalty points on his super license,
Oh my goodness.
which doesn't stand in good stead for the season going forward. He's got to be careful. And then, yeah, I get the impression that Seb Vettel, for all his world championship status, and he's a phenomenal driver, he really is. You don't get to that level of success without being a talented guy. But I think when things aren't going his way, his head drops a little bit and he does some stupid things. Ignoring the double waved yellows, is an absolute rookie error, and he got the consequences. And then, during the race itself, he decided to just crash into Seb Ocon down into turn 1, and immediately said, it was Ocon's fault, and then recanted it and said no, it was his fault.
Nice.
But it's stupid things like that.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the points. He wasn't near the points, and he still managed to cause an incident. So I think Stroll will be relatively happy. He had a good qualifying, finished 10th. He got mugged on the last lap by Tsunoda, which was wonderful to see, just from a rookie point of view, being able to pull that pass off. But I think Stroll will be okay with the fact that he finished in the points at least, albeit in the last points paying position. Vettel, unhappy. And how he comes back from that in 3 weeks' time at Monza will be interesting to see. But I do think they do have some concerns technically, but they also are, as I say, a team that does very well with the resources they have. And now with the input from a guy like Vettel, who is immensely experienced, they will fight back during the season, if not immediately. And I expect to see them, maybe not on the podium, but certainly up there in the midfield.
And by the way, Monza, that is the one I have been to. I have been to Monza.
I see. I'm jealous. That's one of my destinations.
Really?
Yeah, I'd love to go there.
Yeah, except Italy's, you know what?
It's
Italy's
far away.
and they're a crap country, actually, if you ever
Wow.
want to travel.
Come on.
Yeah, no good.
No.
Before we
very
move
overrated.
on from Aston Martin, I have a question for you, Spike, on my left or right, depending on which way you are looking at it.
Sure.
Okay.
Lance Stroll.
Uh-huh.
Do you think I know he's daddy's boy and daddy owns the team and daddy's a billionaire.
Yeah.
So we got a YouTube a Twitter question saying Lance Stroll is not worthy of that seat. No difference between him and Mazepin.
Wow.
Do you
That's a
think
burn.
Stroll is solely there because of his dad? Or do you think there's some kind of talent there somewhere?
I think there's some kind of talent. I've said it. It's something I say to anybody who raises the question. You are physically and mentally incapable of driving those cars to that level if you don't have talent. If you don't have talent, you won't even get round turn one. It's as simple as that. So for a guy like Lance Stroll to go toe-to-toe with Checo Perez like he did as a teammate last year, and he had some battles with him and he came out tops. You know, he's been on the podium a couple of times. He had a great race in Azerbaijan a couple of years ago. He's been on the podium. I think he's inconsistent. I think he probably focuses a little bit too much on the negative rather than, you know, if you look at his interviews, he talks about, most often than not, it's about what went wrong rather than what went right. And things that he needs to improve on rather than things that he's happy with. So I'm not a sports psychologist, but it seems to me that seems to be his focus. Would he still be there if his dad wasn't the team boss? It's a tough one. I struggle to see who they would replace him with.
Mazepin.
Mazepin. They would a guy like Kvyat, who got bumped out of a seat last year. Would he be in Aston Martin? I don't think so. I think Kvyat and Stroll are possibly on a par. Would a guy like Albon have been in the Aston Martin seat if it went? Possibly. I think that's, for me, is really the only other option they would have is to take on a guy like Albon and stick him in that seat. And yeah, so I think, does he 100% deserve to be there? Probably not. Is he capable of delivering for the team? Yes, he is.
Yeah.
As much, I'm not a fan of his. I don't particularly like his driving style. I don't particularly like his, him as a personality. But is he able to drive that car? Yes. Is he able to deliver? Yes. Is he there because of his dad? Yeah, 30%.
What a feeling. My dad owns a Formula 1
Daddy
team.
is
No, my dad owns Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
And a Formula 1 team.
That is the next level of
Yeah.
flex. Do you know what, James, you might like him because if you were stressed out about cocky people in Formula 1, you guys could just go for a stroll.
I said no Stroll puns. I said it 10
And
minutes ago.
I was looking for the angles. I was looking
Wow.
for
I
a
said it
walk.
10 minutes ago.
How do you relax? So, yeah,
Come
there
on.
we go. All right, Alfa
Come on.
Romeo.
Alfa Romeo. I like Alfa Romeo. I don't like the fact that they've kept Raikkonen for so long. The guy's old and
And a White Walker, if you've seen.
as hilarious as he is and as
You have to have seen
talented.
Game of Thrones, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
The two savages across from me haven't seen Game of Thrones.
I've seen it. I just haven't seen all of it.
White Walkers. You didn't see the White Walkers. They didn't come in.
No, not the White Walkers.
No.
No.
Was that when winter finally arrived? After 78,000 episodes, them going, winter is coming.
No,
Yes,
no,
we
no.
know.
Winter's here. Alfa Romeo. Let's go ahead.
Kimi Raikkonen, as talented as he is and as hilarious as he is, and as much of a shit as he doesn't give, I'm not quite sure where they stick with him. He's stat for stat, he's not any better in his time with Alfa Romeo than his teammate Giovinazzi.
Do you think his career is finished?
Oh my God, stop it! I'll give you credit if it's a good one. That was terrible. But yeah, they've got the new Ferrari engine in that car, and it's a pretty good package. I think they delivered on the potential of the car, particularly from the engine. It was a relatively straightforward race. Giovinazzi qualified. They qualified 11th and 12th. Raikkonen and Giovinazzi. In the end, Giovinazzi 12th, Raikkonen 14th. Raikkonen had a good battle with Alonso. He's still got it. He can still race with the right people. So yeah, I think they're going to be there making up the numbers. They'll score some points for sure. I don't think we'll see much of them further up than sort of 8th, 9th, 10th place.
Alpine?
Alpine.
Alpine.
I'm excited about Alpine purely because... No, not purely because. One of the main reasons I'm excited about Alpine is because the Grandmaster is back. Fernando Alonso. One of the greatest drivers ever.
Greatest hair in the history of Formula
Greatest hair, greatest attitude. Just, you know,
great sunglasses
great
at
guy.
all times.
Yeah, all the time. So Alonso's back. So the team is going to benefit massively from that. He's hoping to resurrect some past glories. I don't think he's going to get there. Even next year with the brand new regulations, the new car and the new everything. It was great to see Alonso back. It was great to see him being Alonso, battling a car that wasn't ideally set up. You could see from a lot of the onboards how he struggled with that car. He was understeer, oversteer, but at the same time, you know, as I said earlier, battling with the likes of Vettel and Sainz and having a great time doing it. So it's from Alpine's point of view, I think they will, along with Aston Martin, be very disappointed at the results. Ocon also got caught out by the waved yellows in qualifying, had a poor qualifying. Alonso up into Q3, so he had a good qualifying. He raced pretty well up until lap 34 or thereabouts. And then had to pit with a technical problem with the car. Initially, they said, no, the brakes are overheating. And I was honestly worried that it was a sign of the season to come because Alonso is a phenomenally aggressive driver. You know, he always has been someone who isn't very gentle with the car. And I thought that given the battles that he'd had in the race, the close-up battles, that maybe it was a combination of his driving style and the car design that cooked the brakes. And I was like, oh, I hope this is not a sign of things to come. Anyway, it wasn't. It was a sandwich packet that blew into his brake duct.
That's the image we have on the screen. Look.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
So you have to know how tremendously bad your luck has to be for a sandwich packet to get blown into the brake duct of your Formula One car so that it blocks the brake duct and it cooks your brake. I mean, you have to be super unlucky.
Two things immediately.
Yeah, no brake puns.
No, please.
Yeah. I'd love a brake pun.
No.
It's too easy. Oh, did the car break because of it?
No, I was going to say we're going to keep the conversation fluid, but okay. You know, what kind of savage is eating a sandwich at a Formula One track? I mean, can we get into that? Where's that packet coming from?
It's the desert, man. It's big and open and wide. It could have come from 400 miles away. The guy could have eaten the sandwich in July 2018, and it's taken that long for the packet to blow to the circuit. Yeah, you don't know.
Hey, fair enough. You know what? I'm not even going to ask my second question when you put it like that.
So I think from a team point of view, I think Alpine really had a rough time yesterday or at Abu Dhabi, and I think they will be. They will be back, and I think they will be racing further up the midfield than we saw yesterday. And I think it'll be a situation where, given the right race conditions, we will see a podium or two. We've seen Renault on the podium in previous seasons. Alpine is the rebranded Renault, and I think in the hands of Alonso and with the rising talent that is Sebastian Ocon, I think we will see them on the podium.
And because I want to save a blue blood for last, let's go with Haas, second last. Let me know what your thoughts are there, because I do want to finish with one of the blue bloods.
Okay, so I'll give you the race yesterday. Mick Schumacher recovered from a spin lap 5 to finish in 16th. Nikita Mazepin, his Russian teammate, spun out on turn 3. In fact, he's had so many spins that James found a website earlier that keeps counts of Nikita Mazepin's spins. In fact, they've already renamed him Mazespin.
Mazespin, it writes itself.
There you
go. So, can I tell you, we went onto this website earlier while we were waiting for you to get your server
together.
And, you know, for us to actually start a show.
No, for me to get my act together. I like that.
For sure. And on this website, there's a clock at the top that says time since last spin. And then for each track, it's got like practice 1, practice 2, practice 3, and then it's qualifying race, all of that stuff. And then under each column, there's an opportunity for you to like fill in if he spun in practice 1, and then it's got his total. And then there's videos of each spin that he's had.
It's so good that James is going to tweet out the URL now, so you can check it out.
He's going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
No, that's smart, because we're talking about it. People want to know about it. We're being interactive.
But I will say, so that was Haas's race, and I will say at this juncture that I don't think that we should talk very much about Haas at all this season. They have flat out said at the beginning of this season that they are not developing the car for the rest of the season. They're concentrating on next year's car entirely, which, given the team resources they have, is probably a wise decision financially and from a resource point of view. But really, from a racing point of view, it's just horrendous. It just means that Haas are going to finish last every race, unless something exceptional happens and a Williams really sucks.
But if I'm the driver, just again, just getting into a Formula One seat, you've automatically got to be in the top 0.01% of the most competitive humans in the history of mankind. That's got to be such a soul crusher for a driver who gets trapped in that situation. Or do you think it's more of an honor just to be driving in the Formula One ranks?
Yeah, I think it's that second part. I think if you as a professional race driver your whole life want to be in F1 and a team comes along and says, "Oh, we've got a seat for you," you're almost certainly not going to say no.
Yeah.
When you're someone like Nikita Mazepin, who came up through the ranks, whose dad is the owner of Ural Kali, who is a Haas sponsor for the year, then those wheels are greased slightly and you slide in a bit easier. If you're a Mick Schumacher, you slide in a bit easier because you're a Schumacher. Not to say that neither of them are talented, but certainly it was the path was a bit easier for them to get in there. But yes, there will be frustrations. The fact that they cannot compete and will not be able to compete for a full season is gonna just bash their confidence.
And Schumacher's kid, is he a schmuck or is he the real deal?
No, he's
Is he like
an
his
F2.
dad?
No, he's an F2 champ.
All right, so he's got
he's got skill. He's a contender in the future, possibly in the right car. Give him a few years to mature. Give him a few years to get some experience, and I think he'll get there. And
imagine he wins a title. He just needs to win one season, driver's championship. Oh my God, the documentary is going to be berserk.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
I mean, the fact that it's MSC. Like Michael Schumacher was MSC. It's like, wow.
It writes itself.
Yeah,
Should we speak about that conspiracy we had earlier?
Which conspiracy?
About Michael.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Anyway, you go, and I'll tell you what I was thinking.
No, so we were saying that what's happening with Michael, because it's all very secretive, and families obviously wants their privacy because it was really just the most horrendous thing to happen to someone, and to someone of that caliber and ability to be have that happen to them is just terrible. But I honestly believe that he is being taken care of. I know that they've turned one of the wings of his house in Switzerland into a full-on medical facility. He's got all the right care. He has had all the right care since day one. And I do think that if anyone is able to overcome those kinds of circumstances with that kind of injury, that he is the guy to do it. And I would not be surprised at some point in the future if Michael Schumacher rocks up at the paddock. He goes, surprise!
Just rises like the Undertaker in WWE.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
Michael Lazarus Schumacher. I'm probably hoping against hope, but I really believe that if anybody could do it, Schumacher can do it. And I'm not a Schumacher fan. I never was. But the guy is a phenomenon.
I love him. He's one of when I think of a hero, Tiger Woods, Schumacher. They were the guys for me when I was younger. James, your thoughts on that conspiracy there?
I think you left out the one part.
Which one is that?
Where I think they should do it at a time where it overshadows.
Oh, no, that wasn't me. That
was me. Yeah. So my thoughts are, you should definitely, because especially now that I know that Michael Schumacher was willing to make a guy wait outside with his pee filling his pants. He's the most competitive man in the world.
Ever.
What I would do if I'm Michael Schumacher, hopefully Lewis Hamilton this year wins the 8th, and it's a huge thing. As soon as Lewis Hamilton crosses that finish line, I release a 10-part documentary about how I've been recovering for the last 3 years.
On the same day.
It's been brutal. And just it covers everything. I release it directly to Formula One,
everywhere,
Netflix, YouTube. And it's the biggest thing ever. And Lewis Hamilton, it didn't even
overshadows
happen. It didn't even happen. Didn't even happen.
His 8th title for what? You know what I'm saying?
Like Michael Schumacher has just risen like Lazarus.
And then Schumacher gets back in the car the following season and wins his 8th.
Oh wow.
Wow. That's part 2. That's season 2.
Yeah.
MSC
season 2.
That's
the comeback of the comeback.
I think that'll be Drive to Survive quite literally.
Yeah.
That would be that would be the next level. Wow, James, you just took it to a whole another level. Spike, I want to finish off, dude. This has been awesome. I want to be honest. I never thought I would actually enjoy a conversation about Formula One in my whole life. and I'm a very
See,
smart, wise
This is what
person.
Formula One does. It
It'll do
Brings
this.
people together.
fires the synapses.
It does.
Gets you talking.
It also
gets you
fires
interested.
the piston.
Gets you.
Fires. Oh, that's good, James.
Nailed it.
That's good,
It
James.
also fires the Red Bull Junior drivers.
Oh, yowzer.
Anyway.
Yowzers. All right, listen, let's finish off on another team. When I think Formula One again, to me, it comes automatically. Williams. What's the deal there? What's the deal been with them? Where have they been? What are we talking about this year?
Yeah, so they had a similar demise in form to McLaren, longer and deeper than McLaren though. So Frank Williams kind of stepped aside. Claire Williams was running the team. It's been a number of seasons now she's been in charge, and the team just wasn't shaping. They had a lot of certainly they had one high profile falling out with I think their chief designer who walked out of the team, and they've been in the doldrums for a long time. Last year, the Williams family sold the team to a venture capital firm who now are in control. They've made some appointments. There's the acting team boss is now the permanent position. They've brought in a guy called Jost Capito.
Great name.
Yeah.
Jost Capito.
Or Jost Capito. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Oh, another beauty of a name, that.
What country would you say it's from?
I think he's
Italian.
German.
Jost.
Jost.
Yeah, Austrian.
Might be
Or
Dutch. Yeah.
Dutch, yeah.
Jost, yeah.
Yeah.
He's tall. He's
Yeah.
definitely tall.
So Jost Capito is also a motorsport veteran. He was in charge of VW Rally's back-to-back World Championships. So the guy knows motorsport. He knows how to manage a team, and so he's now the guy pulling the strings at Williams under the new ownership. So I think we'll probably see a return to a bit of form. Coupled with that, you've got a guy like George Russell who's phenomenally talented and undoubtedly in a car that really isn't allowing him to show what he's capable of. He did it last year at Abu Dhabi where he was in Lewis Hamilton's seat while Sir Lewis had COVID.
Yeah, have some respect.
Sorry. And pantsed Valtteri Bottas. Probably should have won. The conspiracy theorists say the punctures weren't real and they wanted to save Bottas's face.
Yeah, because you can't have a guy coming from like a lower ended side.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, to the guy who's been in the team for so many years
Yeah.
and gets beaten by
Yeah.
the guy who's there for the first
I
time.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah,
It's also like save the boss's face. Like,
Yeah.
we should have. Hey, that
Yeah,
should
why
be
is
our
that?
number
Why
one
is he
driver.
not
Yeah.
racing for us? Yeah.
Well, you might as well ask the question because Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff,
Oh, Toto, love it.
also 30% owner of Mercedes, also part owner of Aston Martin, also George Russell's manager.
Oh my God.
So why is George Russell not driving for
Whew.
Mercedes-Benz?
The
Toto
scandals
is-
are real.
By the way,
Not scandal. Toto is
he's a piece of work.
out of everybody in Formula One, Toto's probably the guy I want to meet the most.
Yeah, no, Toto, and he's been the guy for a while. Huh?
Oh,
He
he's-
terrifies me.
Yeah, but
Bes-
that's exactly it.
Besides him, who was the Lothario, the Renault Lothario guy?
Briatore.
Salvio. It is
Flavio.
Flavio
Flavio
Briatore.
Briatore.
Look him up, mate.
How do you
The engineer of Crashgate.
Always dating,
Flavio?
always dating the next hot model. By the way,
No,
and
he dated Iman. Not Iman, one of them?
I'm not shocked.
One of the
I
supermodels.
don't
Or
know
many of
this.
the supermodels. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Someone has to tell me how to spell it. I went after.
Flavio.
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 It's a
I thought you
Flav
said
and an
Salvio.
EO.
Yeah. Like Flavor Flav with an IO.
Yeah.
And Briatore as it is.
Like that
B-R-I-A-R.
Italian businessman.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him.
Oh, and by the way, Silver Fox as well.
No, he's not. He's a
Has he
flippin'...
gone full grey?
No, he's a troll.
Oh.
I think he's past Silver Fox.
Yeah,
a while
way
ago.
past.
Oh, James, you seem to have
But
an
look,
opinion.
credit the guy for bringing some talent to F1. He was the guy who brought Alonso into Formula One.
No, listen. I loved him because for me, I like those characters. I don't
nice.
like. For me, I'm not like James. I don't want to hang out with the sportsman.
Yep.
I want to see the needle, and I love people that push it forward. He's another one who came in and pushed it forward, in
but
my
like-
opinion.
Yeah, but how far forward do you want him to see it, to see it pushed? Because Briatore is banned from the sport.
Look, for me, I'm a big fan of ask for forgiveness rather than permission. In especially a sport like Formula One is such a technology thing. You know, like Elon Musk. I'm like, don't worry about it. You do what you do and pay the $100 million fine.
So, but this is the thing. It's ask for forgiveness rather than permission. But what happens when the forgiveness doesn't come? So Briatore engineered Crashgate at Singapore, got busted. Him and his sporting director, whose name escapes me,
James will look that up.
banned for life from the sport. So it has no long-term benefit because you've got a guy banned from the sport now.
As somebody who I like to watch sports for the story, like that just adds to the story. He's a villain, not like
Yeah, he's a total villain.
I like the sort of antagonist protagonist. He'll be an antagonist in this.
Yeah.
I think, and I think what you were saying about Liberty is, I think they'll bring more of this. It is a story, like you know, as the great William Shakespeare or Billy said, life is a stage. You know, and I think Formula One is so geared to telling a story because there's just so much on the line. And the tragedies in Formula One are the next level. They're happening at 300 kilometers an hour or whatever. So I hear what you're saying, but I kind of like that needle. I'm like, I can't believe it. Yeah, I want to read about it.
I think look for Pat Fry. I think it's Pat Fry.
What exactly?
And if it's not Pat Fry, I apologize to Pat Fry.
Yeah. By the way, Pat Fry, who we have no clue. Yeah.
Well, it does say British engineer.
Pat Fry.
It could be him.
Ugh.
No,
Fry.
I
Pat
agree with you.
Godfrey.
I agree with you. You want the villains.
I do.
And because that does make for the story. But I also think that when your villainy pushes the sport into disrepute. So, I mean, Lance Armstrong is the villain.
Yeah, he's beyond.
But how many cycling fans have been turned off because of him?
No, he brought a whole sport down. Like there's a level again.
He's like the
you're
uber villain.
100% right. He's crossed over from villain into sort of the devil territory.
Yeah.
It's like you weren't even. Well, what was that?
Yeah.
Pat Simmons. Sorry.
Pat Simmons.
Pat.
Sorry, Pat
hey,
Fry.
ballpark. A pat is a pat is a pat. You know, as we all
Well,
know.
I mean, it depends on how you look.
Yeah.
Anyway, what
Anyway,
exactly
Pat
was
won't be coming back.
Crashgate? Sorry.
Oh, Crashgate. So what happened was in Singapore, it was when Alonso and Piquet Jr. were teammates. So it's probably 2007, 2008 thereabouts.
Wait, I'm on the Wikipedia. I can just tell you what year it was.
So yeah, they were racing at Singapore.
2008.
2008. So they were racing at Singapore. Alonso was nowhere. He was kind of mid-pack or anyway. Pat and Flavio engineered that Piquet Jr. would crash to bring out the safety car. He would crash at a particular corner at a particular point in the race to bring out the safety car so that Alonso could take advantage of a pit stop and then get out in front.
Wow.
And it was engineered. It was engineered almost perfectly because that's exactly what happened. Piquet crashed. Alonso pitted, got out in the lead, won the race. And didn't win the championship, but he won that race. And what happened afterwards is that people started asking questions. They were like, that's a very weird place to crash. And the accident itself was very weird. Like like that's not a mistake that you make. It's kind of like Schumacher at Rascasse during qualifying in Monaco, where he said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't turn the car enough." And they were like, "Bollocks, mate! You did it on purpose, so Alonso couldn't qualify on pole. Back you go." So they looked at the data. There was a full-on investigation. They found them both guilty, banned them both from the sport.
Wow.
And the drivers weren't implicated at all.
Piquet Jr. I think was. I'm not sure he was banned. I think he was fined. But he was ruined. He never came back. No one would hire him. Alonso, hey, bro, I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
And he had plausible deniability. He was like, hey, I just do what my team says. My team told me to pit, I pitted.
Yeah.
And
Wow. The other dude, it was the PK of his career, I guess you might say.
no, he was nowhere near it. Just like that pun was nowhere near it.
All right, listen, Spike.
Anyway, just to finish on Williams, right?
Yeah,
I think they're on their way up. They're not going to make massive strides. They're not going to hit the podium. They might get a top 10 again on the day that Alpine is on the podium because of race situation. But they do have the new Merc engine, so there's more power there. I think Russell extracted the most he could from the car, from the package. Latifi dead last, also not a great prospect at the moment. And I think once Williams have the full Mercedes-Benz mechanical, including gearbox next season, with the new package, we might see some good things for them. I think for now, they're going to make some inroads. They'll have some good results, and I think they'll generally be happy. And I think with the team dynamics being sorted by the Joss, then I think we can look forward to the start of a return for Williams. But we're not going to see anything great from this year, I don't think.
The return of the Blue Bloods is what I think this has told me, and I'm going to watch Formula One now. I might even get a Netflix account.
Also, by the way,
If you're feeling crazy.
Yeah.
George Russell, great.
Not to be confused with his cousin Jack Russell. Yes, go on.
Jack Russell's a cricketer.
Oh, and a dog.
What do you mean? Oh,
Yeah. No,
you
he
don't
was.
know Jack Russell, the
I
cricketer?
do. Yeah, the cool cap,
yeah.
and the glasses.
Yeah. Also batted out some ridiculous to win a test.
No, good. And
Anyway,
also character.
George Russell. When you get a chance, Google George Russell. Look at his face, and then Google Ants the movie,
Hang on.
and tell me that George Russell does not look like a character from Ants.
Hang on.
It
hang on.
dawned on me the
I'm doing
other
it
day.
now.
George Russell, huh?
Yeah.
George Russell.
Well, I know what he
Ants.
looks like. I
Yeah.
didn't have to Google him. But
Okay.
Ants.
Ants.
the
All right.
movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, everyone's going to do that at home. Whilst they do that, Spike, I'm going to ask you to put your balls on the line.
Hey, is that not George Russell?
Listen, we'll have to put that up, huh? Ants or George Russell.
Yeah.
We'll put a picture up on the website, on the Cliff Central website, on the podcast.
There we go.
There you go.
Just make sure we copyright cleared for that Ants picture.
Yeah. Listen, don't pirate. I take this very seriously right now.
Just get a Netflix then.
You know how Lewis Hamilton has banned all single-use plastics from his organization?
Hold on. Sorry. I'm not gonna,
MKT's banned all piracy from his organization.
I have.
look at him.
For one. But
There we go.
I'm also going to ban disrespect. Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Do me.
sorry.
Do us a
I
favour.
don't
Lewis
think you, I don't think
Hamilton.
you have to use his full name. You just have to say Sir Lewis.
He's your mate or your old mucker.
No, I think that's the protocol. Genuinely, I think it's Sir Lewis.
Oh, Sir Lewis.
Yeah, you don't have to say Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Can I just call him
Every-
Lewis Hamilton?
Oh, James,
Oh.
that hate in your heart, boy.
Sure,
You
man, you
better
gotta
deal
work
with
on
that.
that,
Yeah.
dude.
Hey, work on yourself first. All right,
Yeah.
Spike. Before we let you go, by the way, this is the best Formula One show ever.
Actually,
this might be the best Formula
There's-
One.
there's a comment here.
There is no way. Hey, we've had puns. We had Jack Russell. What else did I get?
We had some Formula One.
We talked about Formula One in between my great puns. There is no way there is a Formula One show in the world
So there's
as good as what
actually
we've just done.
a comment here on the YouTube that says, "Get Spike back in 3 weeks. Awesome show."
Yeah,
Oh, thank you very
honestly, you've been. This is the best Formula One show. I just realized that went everywhere. But Spike, you are brilliant. But all right, before I let you go, Spike, listen. Put your balls on the line. And by the way, I'm going to write this down.
Oh,
We'll
God.
start with the constructors, okay?
Uh-huh.
Because, by the way, people are going to put money on this.
Oh.
So, number 3 for you, we'll just do top 3 because that's who we care about.
Yeah.
If I had to put you on the, money on the line, I probably should have asked you this before if I was a better professional. But, life's preparation. and all that.
Here's the spot, and here I am.
No, you are
Yeah.
inside of the spot.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
even on it.
Yeah, thanks.
So, top 3.
Are we talking end of the year, end of the season?
Constructors, end of season.
Yeah.
People are going to put money on this. No pressure.
Damn it. Okay,
Some people's
so,
mortgages are on this.
Yeah. So I think constructors, I'm going to go with, and for anybody who wants to put money on this, bear in mind, I get these wrong. I don't enter fantasy leagues.
You reserve your right to change.
I
We'll do another one halfway through the
I
season.
don't enter fantasy leagues because I honestly believe that whoever I bet on, I jinx.
Hey.
And that's the one part. And the other thing is I always bet, like, I hope it happens rather than going, statistically, blah, blah, blah. So I think third constructors will be McLaren.
Okay.
I think second will be Mercedes-Benz, or Mercedes-AMG rather. And I think Red Bull will take constructors.
Wow.
He's putting Merck in second.
And you're saying Red Bull, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
And
I'll probably have their
And
fire
I
suit in a
think
while.
because it's of the Bottas factor. Sorry, that's unfair on Valtteri Bottas. I think it's the Bottas-Perez factor. That's going to swing it for Red Bull.
Dude, I'm going to look so good in that Verstappen fire suit when I get it.
I actually got a picture during the show. I'll
Oh.
show it to you afterwards.
What's that, of me in a fire
Of
suit?
you
I
in a
don't even-
fire suit.
Oh.
Someone WhatsApped it to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll show it to you after
It
the show.
probably looks unbelievable.
So we better wrap this up because apparently our battery's going flat.
Oh, all right.
Oof,
well.
that's awkward.
Um,
Maybe change cameras so we look professional.
There
Right?
you
Yeah,
go,
that's
good
it.
idea.
all right, the drivers. The drivers. Now, this is where, listen, I'm double mortgaging my house here because this is what we care about. You said you follow drivers. And this is always the tough one to pick, right? Because sometimes we pick with our hearts, but you gotta listen. Balls on the line.
Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3,
Oh, it is tough.
I'm gonna
We need a drum roll here.
I'm gonna
somewhere.
stick with the Perez Bottas factor. I'm gonna say Perez third.
Wow. I did not see that coming. Okay, so Perez third.
Perez third.
Second. Oh, is Michael Schumacher releasing a documentary this season, basically?
Perez third. Verstappen second.
Verstappen.
Oof.
Wow. Spike says, I don't care if you're Dutch and Belgian, get the hell out of here. Because at number 1.
Lewis for the 8th.
Royalty probably doesn't pay
I want to
tax.
see that. I want to see. No, he doesn't. Pay.
Or the man who's never paid tax because he moved to Monaco right
Yeah.
now.
Registered his private jet in the Isle of
And
Wight.
James absolutely hates him
Yeah.
because
So Lewis Hamilton for the 8th. I want to see that record be broken.
Sir
I want to be part of
Lewis.
history.
Me too.
I want to see it, and I want to see Lewis Hamilton
James.
go.
Oh,
Screw you guys.
James, how much are you hating that Sir Lewis comes out, the greatest driver of all time, probably buys a second yacht with all the money he's going to be getting in endorsements. Oh, that is going to be awesome. So Sir Lewis, Verstappen in second, Perez third, then the constructors, Spike. Listen, Spike, this is now on the YouTube. It's going to live forever. It's going to be on the podcast. Spike says Red Bull are winning the constructors, Merc AMG, and third McLaren. Listen, we're going to hold...
And I'll put in a few terms and conditions. McLaren going to be super tight. It's going to be tight, but McLaren will take it. And also, don't mortgage your house.
T's and C's, huh?
T's and C's
So,
apply.
Yeah.
listen, when they do come to take away your car, just say, hey,
Yeah.
Spike Valentine said it on the best,
Yeah.
easily the best Formula One. This is going to be the greatest Formula One podcast ever. I cannot wait to re-listen tonight. Spike Valentine, you are a legend, my brother.
Thanks for having me. It's been
No,
a
man.
lot of fun. I look forward to the next one after Monza.
And where can guys follow you on the socials?
You'll find me at Spike the Car Guy on Twitter and on the Instagram.
Spike the Car Guy. Dude, that was honestly some of the most fun I've had. And I want to tell people, I like to be honest, I do not watch Formula One anymore, but this was awesome. And now I'm going to watch Formula One. Probably get Netflix to watch. What am I watching again?
Drive to Survive.
I did write it
There we
down
go.
here. Drive to Survive. Yeah, I'm
And
looking forward to
also, before we go, top tip. If you don't have DSTV or you haven't watched Formula One and you're not interested in watching Formula One because you don't want to pay DSTV, A, I'm with you. B, Formula1.com, download the app. You can now, as far as I can tell, you can now stream races live in South Africa on the F1 app for like $40 a month or something.
I watched, so that's about $4 if you're in America, just less than $4. I watched all the highlights this weekend. I read all the news on the app. Like, it was brilliant.
Yeah,
and it was HD.
And if you
on
want
my phone.
if you want to keep up with Formula One news, another thing that Liberty has done for Formula One, social media is top class. Their YouTube channel is top class. There's never a shortage of news and highlights and interviews and behind the scenes and technicals. The team that they got working on that setup is incredible. It's really worthwhile following them on their platforms.
Hey, that's all. Hey, today I learned that I'm the biggest Verstappen fan in the history of mankind. Jimbo, your thoughts on the season before we finish off?
I'm actually very excited. I think it's going to be interesting. I think every race is going to bring something new.
Yeah.
We're not going to. I think we won't be able to call a champion anytime soon.
No.
Which is exciting.
That's awesome. That's
what
good for
I
the sport,
want out of the sport. Yeah.
Yep.
We've had a very long while of Ferrari and Merc dominating. And now things are changing a bit. McLaren's coming in there. Very excited.
The return of the blue blood. Spike, legend. Jimbo, great work today. Ladies and gentlemen, for today, this has been the greatest Formula One show ever done. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind if you are a good person globally. My name is MKT. This is Cliff Central Sport. It is the MKT Show. It has been an honor for today. But for now, we are the hell out of here.